All right, here we are, Living Environment fans. It's Monday. Monday. It's May 2nd, actually. Not it's May 1st. There's a mistake already. Well, I'm a day late, dollar short, as they say. But yeah, let's do today's test. And today's test is sponsored by me. Okay, I'm not in the office today. Remember, you can take this test up to 2 more times after you finish it the first time. So that's 3 total times. Let's get on with it, shall we? Now. The diagram below represents the evolutionary relationships amongst many organisms. The three species in the given diagram with the most similar traits are most likely A, B, D, and G. Answer choice B, D, H, and J. Answer choice C, F, I, and G. Or answer choice D, F, A, and J. Number 2, genetic recombination, production of more offspring that can survive, and struggling with the challenges of the environment are all concepts associated with A, natural selection, B, mitotic division, C, genetic engineering, D, selective breeding. Number 3, natural selection produces changes most quickly in A, complex multicellular organisms, B, individuals that produce a small number of offspring, C, individual pathogens killed by antibiotics, or D, species with short reproductive cycles. Given the chart below, leopard frog reproduction facts. Where do they live? In marshes, ponds, swamps, and slow moving water. How often do they breed? Once a year. When is their breeding season? March through June. How many eggs does one frog produce? 3,000 to 6,500. How long till the fertilized eggs hatch? 2 to 3 weeks. When do they reach sexual maturity? Males in 365 days, females in 730 days. How does the ability to produce 3,000 to 6,500 eggs benefit this species? A, it decreases the opportunity for more frogs to compete for limited resources. B, more offspring are likely to survive and reproduce. C, the offspring will be more widely distributed by fast moving water. Or D, the chances for asexual reproduction in the frogs will increase. Number 5, the process of sexual reproduction is an important part of the process of evolution. One reason for this is that meiosis and fertilization directly produce many new A, variations, B, pathogens, C, antigens, D, species. Number 6, the amoeba, a single-celled organism, reproduces asexually. Variations in amoeba would most commonly occur through A, random mutations, B, recombination during fertilization, C, the fusion of gametes, D, differentiation during development. Number 7, excuse me. Finches on the Galapagos Islands express a variety of traits. Variability in the offspring of these finches is a result of A, mitosis and genetic recombination, B, mutation and cloning, C, mitosis and asexual reproduction, or D, meiosis and mutation. Number 8, the chart below shows the number of differences in genetic material between individuals within the same species. Scientists can use this information to determine which populations demonstrate the greatest amount of genetic diversity. According to the chart, which two species would be more likely to survive if their environmental conditions changed? Would be A, the brown bear and the whale, B, the Tasmanian tiger and the Tasmanian devil, C, the panda and the wolf, or D, the Tasmanian tiger and the wolf. This diagram below represents an important biological concept. Yum, dark beetles, our favorite. Generations later, this concept being represented is A, natural selection, B, homeostasis, C, ecological succession, or D, overproduction. Number 10, a shark and a dolphin have similarly shaped bodies and fins. However, these two organisms are not closely related. The shark is a fish, the dolphin is a mammal. Some species may have similar body structures even if they are not related because they evolved in A, different environments but ate similar foods that affected their growth and development. B, similar environments and specific traits increase their chances of survival. C, different environments but tried to adapt in the same ways so they could survive. D, similar environments and were exposed to factors that caused exactly the same mutations. Number 11, a chemical was added to hand sanitizers and dish detergents to kill bacteria. Certain species of bacteria are no longer killed by this chemical. One likely reason for the decreased effectiveness of this chemical is that these bacteria have A, slower metabolic rate, B, an adaptation to a different niche, C, been selectively bred for survival, or D, have a mutation for resistance. Number 12, the scientists added an antibiotic to a petri dish containing bacterial colonies. A day later, the scientists noted that many of the colonies had died, but a few remained. The scientists continued to observe the dish and noticed that eventually the remaining colonies of bacteria increased in size. The survival of some bacterial colonies was most likely due to A, the bacterial cells changing so that they could live, B, a resistance to the antibiotic, C, meiotic cell division in the bacteria, or D, a DNA change caused by the antibiotic. Number 13, an example of a population in which evolution could take place in a relatively short period of time could be A, pathogenic bacteria exposed to antibiotics, B, oak trees in a stable ecosystem, C, elephants living in a wildlife preserve, or D, algae grown under constant conditions. As a result, at number 14, as a result of habitat destruction, the size of the Florida panther population has been drastically reduced. It is estimated that there are only 100 to 160 Florida panthers in the wild. Which one of the following statements best explains why the Florida panther population will not or may not continue to evolve? A, there's lack of competition for limited environmental resources. B, there's no longer a chance of mutations occurring in this population. C, there's no longer a chance of a trait providing a reproductive advantage to the population. Or D, there's a lack of genetic variation for selection to act upon. Number 15, which one of the following concepts is correctly matched with an example from the Beaks of Finches labs? A, selecting agent. An insecticide was used to kill insects on one island. B, adaptation. Different types of foods were available. C, variations. Different beaks were available. Or D, environment. Beaks with similar qualities were used to gather seeds. Number 16, a factor that contributed to the evolution of finches on the Galapagos Island was most likely the A, relatively constant atmospheric temperature, B, lack of variation in beak structure of the finches, C, isolation of the finches on separate islands, or D, total lack of competition for food. Oh, look, a finch wheel. Yay! Yay, I got so excited I made it disappear. There we go, the finch wheel, yay! The diagram below represents the relationship between beak structure and food in the several species of finches found on the Galapagos Island. The different beak structures observed in the diagram are evidence of A, finches mating with birds of other species and acquiring some of their traits, B, finches changing their beak characteristics so that they could feed efficiently, C, different species of finches adapting to different environments over many generations, D, finch species with different beak structures coming to the Galapagos Islands from the mainland. Look, there's our finch wheel again. A different question. Insects can get diseases just like other organisms. A deadly bacteria infected the insects on one Galapagos island. Among the birds living there, the finches most likely to experience a drastic decrease in population size would be the A. Cactus finches, B. Warbler finches, C. Large ground finches, D. Medium ground finches. An evolutionary tree, number 19, an evolutionary tree is shown below. Which one of the following conclusions is correct based on this evolutionary tree? A. All of these species have certain DNA sequences in common. B. Species O and P are more closely related than species P and Q. C. A common ancestor of species L and M is the species N. D. Species S is the best adapted of all the species shown. Number 20. The chart below shows some characteristics of different species of finches. All right. According to the information in the chart, which finch species is best adapted to feed on insects that live under the bark of trees? Is it A, the cactus finch, B, the warbler finch, C, the large ground finch, D, the small ground finch? '21. The diagram shows the variations in the beaks of finches on the Galapagos Islands. Which two species of finch would be affected if a bird with a grasping beak that ate ants and beetles was introduced into their habitat? Would it be A, the large ground finch and the warbler? B, the cactus finch and the medium ground finch? C, the woodpecker finch and the small ground finch? Or D, the large tree finch and the small tree finch? Number 22. After a lake dried up during a severe drought, a section of undisturbed rock layers was exposed. The layers are represented below. The sequence of rock layers best illustrates the concept that A, living organisms have the capacity to produce populations of unlimited size. B, new inheritable characteristics can result from the recombining of genes. C, the living and non-living environment can both change over time. Or D, it is important to preserve the diversity of species and habitats. All right, number 23. Which part of the beaks of finches lab activity was changed in order to simulate the different conditions on various islands? A, the size of beak, B, the size of stomach container, C, the type of beak, or D, the types of seeds present? Today's whales and alligators both have pelvic and hind leg bones, but these bones only function in alligators. The similarity between whales and alligators supports the idea that A, alligators and whales share a common ancestor. B, alligators and whales share the same genetic mutations. C, whales evolved from alligators. Or D, alligators evolved from whales. Number 25. The series of fossil snail shells below represents 10 samples that were collected from deposits laid down from 10 million years ago to 3 million years ago. The shells are arranged in order by age. The shells shown represent how they looked at various times over a 7 million year period. The youngest shell is here. The oldest is here. It would be most accurate to conclude that the snails of this species, A, changed in size at different times because they needed better protection from predators. B, grew smaller, then larger over time as the environment changed from a wetter to a drier climate. C, grew larger because as organisms evolve, they always become larger and more complex. D, changed in size due to environmental changes that affected the survival of different sized snails. '26. Oops, 26. Got ahead of myself there. A recent study of Darwin's finches in the Galapagos Islands identified the gene HMGA2 that's involved in beak size. It played a role in which finches feeding on smaller seeds survived the severe drought in 2004 to 2005. Following the drought, the average size of the medium ground finch beak decreased. This change was traced directly to changes in the frequency of the HMGA2 gene. Previous studies have shown that the HMGA2 affects body size in animals, including dogs and horses and even humans. One possible reason that such a diverse species could be affected by the HMGA2 gene is that A, the drought caused the formation of the gene. B, they all lived on the Galapagos Islands. C, they all share a common ancestor. D, the gene allowed all these species to grow larger. Number 27, damage to which structure would directly interfere with the nutritional needs of a developing embryo? Is it A, testes, B, ovary, C, lungs, D, placenta? Number 28, which one of the following statements about the functioning of the human reproductive system is correct? A, the uterus is where the fetus develops internally until birth. B, the zygote helps the mother provide milk to the fetus before it is born. C, ovaries are where male gametes undergo meiosis to reduce their chromosome numbers. D, and testes produce unfertilized eggs and release them so that they can be fertilized by sperm. Number 29. The diagram below illustrates the evolution of tetrapods. A tetrapod is a four-footed animal. The changes observed over time occurred as the organisms shown in the diagram A developed variations that made it possible for them to move from land to water. B, developed variations that made it possible for them to move from water to land. C, needed to change the habitat where they lived from land to water. D, needed to change the habitat where they lived from water to land. Number 30, the tube-lipped nectar bat found in Madidi National Park in Ecuador, has the longest tongue in relation to its size in any mammal. Its 8.5 centimeter tongue can reach into the deepest flowers. It is likely that the population of these bats with exceptionally long tongues will increase in the Madidi National Park ecosystem if A, other mammal species with long tongues move into the area to increase competition. B, the tongue variation provides the species with an advantage in surviving and reproducing. C, the population of plants with very deep flowers suffers a sharp decrease in number. D, the gene for the long tongue trait cannot get passed on to future generations of the nectar bats. #31. Killer whales are an endangered species. The decline in whales' numbers has been linked to poor nutrition, resulting in the inability to maintain a pregnancy. This risk to developing whales' embryos is most likely a result of A, toxins that were introduced into the mother from the embryo's blood. B, an infection caused by the embryo's exposure to a pathogen. C, an environmental factor not associated with the embryo's genes. Or D, faults in the genes of the embryo itself. #32. Mutations can be beneficial to a species because they, A, can lead to some members of the species having favorable traits in a changing environment. B, allow organisms to mate with other species. C, will lead to the loss of traits that are helpful in a specific environment. D, cause the reproductive rate of the species to decrease. And number 33. A certain species of rough-skinned newt produces an extremely powerful toxin that helps prevent attacks by predators. However, one predator, the garter snake, can eat these newts without being affected by the toxin. Which statement best explains the resistance of the garter snakes to the newt toxin? A random genetic mutation that resulted in toxin resistance increased the survival rates of the snakes that had it, and they passed it on to their offspring. B, the snakes needed to become resistant to the toxin in order to survive, so they developed a toxin resistance gene. C, exposure to the newt toxin caused a mutation in the snakes, which increased resistance to the toxin in the snakes. Or D, as the newts became more toxic, the snakes became increasingly resistant in order to survive. And that's it. That's our test. 33 questions, right? Tell me how you did. Remember, you can do it again 2 more times and go back 2 more times if you want to. Best of luck to you, and I'll see you tomorrow.